Hey guys, how's it going? It is my different username here, and today we'll be taking a look at one of the most revolutionary PDWs ever developed in the world. It is a gun that is actually so unique that some people don't even know whether or not to call it a submachine gun or just a compact assault rifle. So here we have the P90 Personal Defense Weapon System made out of Lego. So, the P90X, or what's also known as the Power 90 Extreme, which is the commercial home exercise video collection created by Tony Horton back in 2005. And, oh wait, I switched scripts, sorry. The P90, also known as the Project 1990 PDWS, which is a personal defense weapon system designed and manufactured by Effen Herstal from Belgium. And this system was developed as an answer to what NATO has wanted for a very long time, which has always been a weapon system that can be small and compact to fill out the role of a submachine gun, but they just didn't want to deal with another 9mm weapon system, and instead wanted something with a lot more lethal force and penetration at their disposal. And during this request, Effen Herstal and H&K were both in development of their own trademark cartridges, with H&K's 4.6 by 30mm cartridge and FN's 5.7 by 28mm, which actually ended up beating out H&K by having better damage results. At least this is what NATO stated. And the caliber was also used for FN's new 5.7 handgun, developed just a few years later after the P90, and even for this thing right here, so that's cool. But going back to 1986, there were actually a few prototypes built as the concept for what NATO was really looking for, but thankfully came down to the final design of the P90 that we all know so well. And once this weapon was developed, it became so popular that it has actually been officially adopted by over 20 different countries, which includes the use from special forces and counter-terrorist groups ever since 1991, and still continues to be used to this very day. And it is such an iconic weapon that it's even been used in countless video games and movies and even TV shows. And the weapon that we would normally just call the P90 actually has quite a few variants to it. This one right here in particular is actually referred to as the P90 USG, or the United States Government, and I'll explain why that is in a little bit. But for now, let's take a look at the smaller details that we have for the P90, like this unique style of grip, which is very iconic to the look of the gun. It also carries all these different pins on the sides of the grips, and when we take a closer look at the trigger area, we can see the trigger and the fire selector just down below that. The fire selector has 3 different positions, at least for the military model, which is left for safety, forward for semi-auto, and right for full auto. Unfortunately, none of these actions have any effect on the trigger, so that does kind of suck. But a small detail that not a lot of people I think even realize about this is that there is a little forward part of the trigger that does move back whenever you do pull on it. And if we scale back a little bit more, we could even see the ejection port area for the P90, but in order to take a look at what's going on there, we would actually need to first cover the upper receiver of this gun. So when it comes to the upper receiver, we have a few parts that we need to take a look at, such as the ambidextrous charging handle, the bolt, and the magazine. First off, I did want to talk about the magazine a little bit because I actually wanted to talk about how disappointed I am that I had to fall back on such a simple design like this one right here. And if anyone has been following me on Twitch and has seen my process when it came to building the P90, you would have already known that I've actually been in the process of making a transparent magazine for this gun from the very beginning. Unfortunately, due to the limitations of how many parts in Lego actually come in transparent, especially when it comes to bow pieces, I didn't end up being able to make the transparent mag, which sucks because it would have looked absolutely amazing. Although, it probably would have been really expensive to make as well, so regardless, I ended up making this magazine right here, which is just a standard light gray magazine with a few dark gray spots around, but at least I added some top details and a little bullet on the bottom, which is actually surrounded by mag lips designed by Admiral Plackbar himself. And the magazine does work with a release system that locks into place, although it's not the most ergonomic thing ever, because I actually do need to pull back on the release system in order to insert the magazine. But it is somewhat useful in its own sense, and locks down the mag fairly easily. So, this magazine ended up being an okay solution to what could have been a really great idea, but it is what it is. And when we take a look at the 2 charging handles on the system, you'll actually see that the charging handles in the front stick out more than the actual size of the receiver, just like the real P90 does. And what's cool about this is it actually converts itself from a 5-stud width into a 4-stud wide bolt system on the inside. And pulling this bolt back actually clears the ejection area as previously stated earlier, but we would first have to move the dust cover out of the way to see completely through. And yeah, I went as far as even building the dust cover for the P90 because one does actually exist for it. It just isn't being powered by a rubber band system, which honestly would make a lot more sense. But to be fair, I don't seem to be really good when it comes to making good dust cover rubber band systems anyway. And one detail I wanted to add to this gun was the fact that it can chamber around like you see here. And in one of my favorite games, Escape from Tarkov, there's actually a chamber check animation present in the game, and it's one of the coolest looking animations I've actually seen for the P90, so I wanted to go out of my way to kind of be able to recreate it on my own model, just to make it feel all that more authentic. And moving to the front, we could take a look at the muzzle device for the P90, which is this simple muzzle brake design here that includes 2 ports at the top to help regulate the gas to blow upwards so the muzzle doesn't rise as much while shooting. And looks can be deceiving when it comes to this device because even though it looks small on the outside, on the inside the barrel actually running through this P90 runs at about 10.4 inches in length. And besides this brake here, we actually have another muzzle device to use, and one that not a lot of people even really know about at all. So here, we have the Mall Ninja barrel attachment built for the P90. So, the Mall Ninja barrel is not a real attachment, but instead is a special piece of equipment you can unlock in another one of my favorite games, Payday 2, where it takes up one of the suppressor attachments for the P90 specifically. And it's basically just a giant boxy suppressor, which I find to be very cool. Maybe I'm just weird, but I do think it looks really awesome. It features 8 vent holes on each side and Japanese characters above that, which I won't lie was very challenging, but I thought I did a fairly decent job at recreating the characters into Lego. Worst part is though, I actually have no idea what it says. Like at all. It could possibly say the most offensive thing in the world, but I wouldn't know that because I don't speak Japanese. Oh well, anyway, it's still one of my favorite attachments specifically made for the P90. And if we take that off and put back the regular muzzle device for the P90, we can now take a closer look at the red dot setup above that. And the upper portion we see here is the default setup that came equipped with the original P90 or the P90 USG, which includes these 2 small Picatinny rail systems along the sides and the red dot that was designed by Ring Sights, which isn't the best red dot in the world, and this applies very much to my model as it does in real life. When aimed down, it has the same look as an illuminated steering wheel, and that's essentially what I try to replicate with this turntable piece. And it does illuminate with this red brick light I have installed inside the housing, and once we have it turned on, hold on a second. Okay, and as you can see, it's very easy to see it light up. Okay, yeah, it's pretty bad to say the least, but I honestly wish I could have made it just a simple red dot like how you see it in the new Call of Duty Modern Warfare, but it is what it is, unless maybe we have the option to switch it out, which we actually very much do. Right here, we have the Picatinny rail system created for the P90 USG. So, this was the basic rail system attachment available for the USG before the addition of the P90 triple rail model that came with a more subtle rail system, the 2 sides, and no fixed red dot. With this rail system though, it gave the option to the shooter to add any kind of sight option that was available, and what I wanted to add was a folding front sight and rear sight to this build, and it's not really that close to being the same P90, but I really wanted to recreate the look of the P90 from Counter-Strike Global Offensive. And here we have the closest thing towards the Suka Bliet Rush B P90 from in-game, and one thing I really wanted to try and recreate from Counter-Strike was actually the weapon charging animation where your character strong thumbs the charging handle with absolute ease. And this was pretty tough to even do with the Lego model. I couldn't even imagine anyone being able to pull this off in real life and chamber a real round into their weapon. I swear, your character from the game has like the strongest thumbs known to man, and playing thumb war with him is simply a death sentence. But either way, that was one part of the attachment I wanted to show off, and another one is the addition of not just a Lego sight, but actually a real-life Vortex UH-1 holo sight. So yeah, kind of an odd thing to set up for a Lego build, won't lie, but one part of me was wondering if I should either make a Lego sight or just try to replicate what I've seen other people do on YouTube where they add real-life attachments to their guns, like scopes or mags. But in this case, I chose the holo sight that is currently modded to my personal AKM in real life, and it is an authentic UH-1, And here we can even see some of the markings along the sides and the reticle itself, which is hard to see with all the lights on, but now is a lot easier to read. It's pretty cool to have this mounted to the P90, but kind of scares me with how much weight is sitting on the top, and going along with the suppressor as well actually makes my current favorite setup with the P90, and here we can get a better look at how that is. But with that said, I think it is safe to say that we have covered everything that this LEGO build has to offer. So, in conclusion, the P90 really is a marvel in engineering and execution, and helps to bridge the gap to what we can consider to be a remarkable firearm. Many people will probably see the P90's design as clunky or not ideal, but I actually find it to be a very brilliant design, and it shows how far we have gone through the evolution of modern day warfare. And I'm especially proud of my progress in building, comparing this to my old Modern Warfare 3 P90 that I've made several years ago. It's a wonderful weapon, was pretty tricky to build and get on video, but regardless, I hope you all have enjoyed. So guys, I'd rather end this video on a better note, but to be fair, there are some grim details that need to be discussed about the later part of January 2020. Grim details like the approaching of COPPA, a new law being enforced not only by YouTube, but the FTC as well. It's going to be a law that's going to affect people like me, Nick Brick, Brick-Built Replicas, and even Zotzi Nobbies if he ever comes back to the platform. Just a heads up, because I'm not sure how this is actually going to affect the channel, but I am going to try my best to consider the law, and also consider what my content will be like later in the future. For now though, I would definitely say if you could, please support me on my Etsy page, where I upload my instructions on my builds, and my new Patreon page as well, because I'm not aware of what's going to happen after January 1st, 2020, so I would definitely say please support me on these different platforms if you can. If not, it's honestly okay, but it would really mean a lot to me as a channel and as a content creator here on YouTube. With all that said though, subscribe if you want to see more Modern Warfare builds just like this later in the future, like, favorite, and comment if you have enjoyed, and as always, thanks for watching and happy holidays!